Everyone says this is a divisive age, so in that spirit, let's do some dividing. Let's divide all ages into two. There are the ages where things are getting better, and the ages where they're getting worse. It's not always easy to tell which sort of age you're in, but it's bound to be one of the two. Unless things are just staying the same, I suppose, but I reckon that would be quite a brief age, more of an instant, a momentary teeter, so we can disregard it. What sort of age is this age, then, other than a divisive one? Is it an improver or a worsener? I'm afraid I think it's a worsener, for Britain anyway, and I didn't think that until recently. So maybe it wasn't the case until recently. It's possible that in my lifetime we've gone from an age where things were generally getting better to one where they're generally getting worse. I refuse to blame myself, which may be part of the problem. This conviction is my justification for all the moaning and remoaning in this book. Britain in 2019 is not a terrible place, historically speaking, to live, but if it is a place that is getting worse and was recently a place that was getting better, that is a bit of a shame. Moral and economic decline isn't the end of the world, though of course it could lead to it. Roughly half the people who have ever lived have done so in declining civilizations, and this one is declining from quite a high point, with freedom of speech, public order, and lots of hot and cold running water. But this shift from improvement to deterioration is going to have a marked psychological impact on the community. It's really depressing, basically. Things getting inexorably worse, even if they're not by any objective historical measure that bad, is liable to make existence feel a bit pointless. One of the most worrying symptoms of the current malaise is that people often ask me what I think is going on. I'm just a comedian who writes a humorous newspaper column and am therefore the wrong person to ask. But I suspect the people who asked me didn't ask me first, which means they got unsatisfactory answers from those who might actually know. So now they're asking me out of desperation. Next stop, the dog. Or maybe they've already asked the dog. Why should I expect to be asked before the dog? Perhaps they're just trying to make conversation. I am quite an awkward person to talk to, after all. But I still reckon there is a lot of bewilderment around. About Brexit, about climate change, about identity politics, about political extremism, about Strictly. I mean, why are the judges so horrible to the celebrities? No wonder they can no longer attract contestants people have heard of. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything's great, and it's just that I'm 45. I've never been 45 before. Perhaps the world always seems like it's declining to 45-year-olds simply because they are. It's a bit of a coincidence that I'm coming to this conclusion just as the fact that I've passed the midpoint of my likely existence hits home. Perhaps I'm just feeling apocalyptic because I've realised I'm not immortal. But maybe I'm right and things are going wrong, and if so, I know exactly what to do to fix them. Genuinely, I reckon the following would do it, or at least cause a marked upturn. Ready? It's nothing to do with Jesus, crystals, or any secret conspiracy, I promise. It's on the dry side, to be frank, but I reckon it would be worth a shot. Introduce proportional representation so that the two-party grip on power is broken. Pay MPs loads more while simultaneously putting enormous constraints on their extra-parliamentary activities, not just while they're MPs, but for the rest of their lives, in order to undermine the malign influence of lobbyists. Put a tax on carbon so that commercial activities carry a financial cost equivalent to their environmental one. Some say we need to totally restructure our economy to deal with climate change, but I reckon channeling capitalism is a better plan than attempting to replace it. If we want people to find ways of emitting less carbon to save the planet, let's harness the awesome power, dedication and inventiveness of the human urge to dodge tax. I'm afraid I don't know what to do about the internet, except wish it didn't exist. But maybe that might help in itself. At least we'd stop having to celebrate it, as if the stratospheric enrichment of a bunch of Californians who go to work in flip-flops was some sort of boon for humanity. But basically, do all that, and I'm pretty sure the country and the world would become a better place. And I reckon it would reverse the worsening. Apologies if you think it's presumptuous of a comedian to offer this sort of trite manifesto, but I figure it's the least I can do if I'm going to keep on moaning, and my resolve to do that is unshakable. The only big problem I can see with my solution to everything is that I have absolutely no idea how to make society do all of it, or actually any of it. I think they're policies that would work, but there's absolutely no way of making them happen politically. Knowing what to do but having no idea how to do it is worthless, like a penguin who's invented fire. Rub two sticks together, it'll really warm us up, he says to the other penguins, who look at their flippers and look at the endless snow, and then one of them says, I don't think that's going to happen. I suppose I could always try convincing people that it's the right thing to do by using reasoned argument, and then it might happen by democratic will. And there'll be other jokes later in the book. The subjects covered include, in no particular order, TV, board games, advertising, Boris Johnson, Nurofen, religion, farting, cinema, corporate greed, champagne, fashion, art, smoking, and roads with rude names. I have put them in groups and an order, but your statutory rights are unaffected. Listen to this book however you like. Mix it up, dip in, or listen to all the prepositions first. It's up to you. You do not, strictly speaking, have to listen to it at all, but I would be rather hurt if you didn't. I mean, come on, you got this far. Despite all the hand-wringing above, this collection of columns is as often glass half full as glass half empty. There's still plenty of lovely liquid in our national metaphorical glass, though I'm hoping it's metaphorical Pyrex rather than metaphorical crystal, as I'm putting quite a lot of metaphorical pressure on it in this sentence. But however much is currently in it, I'm pretty sure it's being emptied, not filled.